darkness is a very powerful metaphor for what Christ has done in coming in glory and touching each one of our lives. And it's interesting how Paul here in Corinthians uses this metaphor to explain where the Corinthian church had come from and where they're going to be going. In verse 3 it says, "And even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing." That's kind of a troubling statement if you think about it, for those who are perishing. And those who are perishing would be those who do not yet know Christ, or know Christ but have outright rejected Him. And unfortunately, in this world, we see this phenomenon known as deconstruction. And I'll admit, I entertained this before. And what deconstruction is simply that. You take your faith, you've grown in that faith, you've walked in it, you've done all the Christianese things, but now all of a sudden you're questioning. You're lost a little bit, and you're like, what's this Jesus thing? Why do I need to follow Him? What is going on with my faith? Why isn't my light shining forth like He said to? And what happens often too when people deconstruct, either they'll break down their faith, analyze each part, which I think we all ought to sometimes. Break it down, analyze it. Why do we believe what we believe? Some people discover that, well, I only believe because my parents told me to. Or I only believe because culturally that's accepted. Or maybe because there's some aspects of the faith that are just universally accepted, and why follow a particular religion if every one of them teaches you to be, quote, a good person. Now, I'm not saying react a certain way at a red light. I'm not saying react, the way the culture does. And I'm not saying being a good person will get you to heaven, because it most certainly will not. Because if that's the case, what did Jesus die for? But it says here in verse 4, "In whose case the God of this age," being Satan, little g, God, "has blinded the minds of the unbelieving, so that they might not see the light of the gospel of the glory of Christ, who is the image of God." When Jesus was up on the mountain being transfigured, and Peter saw this, and the rest of the disciples also have seen this, there were many who were following Him that weren't sure of who He was. In fact, one of them, John, being his brother, was still questioning up until this point. But here he sees Jesus being transformed into white, glittering, glowing, wearing bling, as Dana was just joking about. And sometimes people have to see that in order to believe. Now, I don't know about you, but Jesus did not show up in my room wearing a white gown and looking pretty. Although that'd be sweet, wouldn't it? That'd be pretty cool. But it didn't happen. So some people, they wonder, well then, how am I supposed to follow Jesus? How am I to know He is who He says He is? Now, granted, many of us have not hiked up mountains. I did before, and it hurt. So many of us aren't going to hike up a mountain and see Jesus in glory. Although if you fall, you might. But what people can see is our witness. Now, Witnessing isn't just, now we talk about witnessing in this culture is we're going to go tell somebody about Jesus. We're going to stand on the street corner with a bullhorn and say, you're going to hell. No. That's not witnessing. That's being mean. We're not a mean church, are we? At least Harry's not mean. I'm glad you're back. Now, our witness is our lifestyle. Do we look like, does our life emulate Jesus? Does it emulate the transfiguration? Does it emulate His glory? When people see us, do they see God's Son? Do they see love? Do they see acceptance? Do they see somebody who welcomes? Do they see somebody who's willing to sit with the sick and pray and heal them? This is the point of Transfiguration Sunday, is this reflection of, are we a transformed people? Are we a people who the world sees and says, there's something about them, I want what they've got? You with me? Are we a people who God has changed? Are we a people worthy to be asked, who is this Jesus you serve? Who is this Messiah that came? I want to know Him. You see, when the Greeks came to visit Jerusalem and they asked Peter and John, we want to see Jesus, where is He? When people show up and they say, we want to see Jesus, are we going to show them Jesus? I'll say this. When I first came here, I had no idea what to expect. New guy. I didn't see myself as just a pastor coming to a new church and taking over. I saw me as, I'm just a guy going to a new church, checking it out, just getting a feel, Because really, at the end of the day, I'm just like you, except more handsome than this guy. Love you.
You're not supposed to lie like that.
Yeah. Sorry. But I did not expect the kind of love I got when I came here. I didn't expect the kind of acceptance and welcome. And I pray we would always do that, not just for the pastors, but for the average Joe that comes in. Because that's light. That's light. The coffee shop we're going to do, and I'm excited about that. Excited. Y'all excited? You excited? I'm a little caffeinated. I'm just a little caffeinated. Okay? But that's telling a bunch of kids, bunch of them, not just from Clarksville, but all over Clinton County, all over Warren County. It's telling them that they're welcome here. We're not going to shoo them off. We're going to welcome them in, right? Yeah, they smell funny. They look weird. But guess what? God loves them. They're in the dark. We shine a light. Say, hey, no, don't go away. Come in. Come in. I asked the kids what happens when you go out in the dark, shine a flashlight on an animal. Its eyes glow, right? Big. They're shocked. And that's what happens when we lead a life that shines light, that reflects Jesus. I'm stepping on my tongue a little bit, sorry. It's shocking when people follow Jesus. It looks good on paper, right? Oh yeah, I love people. Okay, that's cool. Okay, now what? Just love people? But when you actually do, it's shocking. It's crazy. Because the world does not know that. We live in a consumeristic age. It's impersonal, right? Remember COVID-19? Working at Man was difficult during COVID-19, was it not? You had to keep a distance. People were gross. You didn't want their germs. You didn't want to get sick. Okay, I get that. I get that. You don't want to get sick. But we were communicating via video. There's something special when you shake hands, when you're face to face, when you give hugs. Sitting across from each other at a table. There's something special about that. That's light. We came out of a time where it was just darkness. A lot of people were depressed. A lot of people were hurt. Some people are still recovering from it, and it's been almost 2 years since we came out of the pandemic. But you see, verse 6, for God, who said, light shall shine out of the darkness, is the one who has shown in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Christ. Verse 7 here says, but we have this treasure in earthen vessels, so that the surpassing greatness of the power will be of God and not from ourselves. It is not our light shining, but it's His light. When we live as witnesses to people, we're not doing it just so we can get extra brownie points with God. We're doing it because He first loved us, therefore we are going to go and love others, because that is a love that cannot be contained. Light cannot be contained. Did you know this? A single candle. Now imagine a flat 30-mile radius of nothing but flat prairie. No trees, nothing. Do you know that a candle can be seen from 30 miles away? A single lit candle at night can be seen 30 miles away. That is the power of light. That is the power of God's transfiguration. Christ's transfiguration on the mountain. Yeah. That is the power. And each one of us has that ability to shine that power. The question is, do you feel like you are able to do that? I don't care what your age is. I don't care what physical limitations you have. God can use you to shine His light. The question you must ask yourself is, do I have this light within me? Does my light shine? Do I need new batteries? Because maybe you do, and that new battery is prayer. Constantly seek the Lord and say, God, recharge my batteries because I'm running out. I'm running low. Because He will. He will.